Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a quilt as you go log cabin block. And this is what mine looks like. Now a log cabin block consists of a center square and strips going around clockwise, counterclockwise, however you want to sew it. But a traditional log cabin block is divided down the center, and one side is usually darks and one side is usually lights. And usually they're very contrasting. Like you might have like whites or creams on one side and then like blues or reds or greens, whatever, on the other side. But I wanted mine really colorful, so I just picked patterns that I really liked that matched my center square and were kind of darkish on one and lightish on the other. It really doesn't matter. It's really up to you how you want it. So let's see what we need to construct this. We're going to first have our center squares, and then we're going to have our strips. Now, generally, your center square should match the width of your strip, but I made mine a little bigger. I have a 2.5-inch center square and 2-inch strips. And I did that because I felt like once it was sewn all the way around, my center square kind of got lost and it was really small. So I did it 2.5, so it'll finish at 2, and then a 2-inch strip. Then we need our batting and our backing. Now, based on the dimensions of my strips and my center square, my block will end up being 11.5 inches unfinished, but 11 inches finished within the quilt. So I made my batting 12 inches because I wanted a little bit of space around, once I was done sewing, to be able to square this up. And then my backing, I made at 11.5, the finished size once it gets sewn. I also have a little ironing mat and an iron because I like to iron after each strip. You don't have to, you can finger press, but I'll show you how. And then I have my rotary cutter and of course our sewing machine. Oh, and a pair of scissors to trim this up, the strips up as we go. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with our center square. And to find the middle, all I did was just sort of finger press that in half, just to find my center, which looks to be about there. And then the same with my center square. I just finger press that, and that way. And then I just found my center and lined it up. All right, so for our first strip, we're going to sew straight down right next to our center block. We're going to do right sides together. Now, if you want to make sure this doesn't move, you can put a pin at the top. And then when you sew, generally you can see where you're going to end, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, I like to put a pin right here just to make sure I know not to go too much past that. And then also the reason I put a pin here is because when I take it to the sewing machine, this is not going to shift around. So let's go take care of that and sew that down. Okay, so we have our piece sewn. I'm going to take this pin out, and what I'm going to do is we need to cut this off. So how I do that is to take your long strip, fold it up, and make it even with the bottom edge of your center block and side. And you can just finger press this. And then what I do is I get a scissors and I just cut that off. Okay, and there you have it. Now, at this point, you could just finger press this back, or you can iron that, which I like to iron, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take that to my iron and just iron that real quick. Okay. So now, and we're going to do our second strip. Now each strip is going to go on twice. Let me show you with my example. Each strip will go on twice to make a half a block. So our next strip is going to go this way. So we're going to take that same strip, right sides together. So we're going to sew straight down. Again, I'm going to put my pin at the top, and then I want to line this up to see where I need to stop sewing. So I'm going to take that to the sew machine. I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our second strip down. And we're going to fold this back, line it up at the bottom and the side. Just going to finger press this, and then we're going to cut that off. Okay, so that strip is done. That color's done. Again, you could finger press or iron this. I'll finger press it for now. I'll show you. Either way is good. So let's get our next strip. All right. So we're going to do this color. Now we're going to go across the top, right sides together, and make sure it's even. And then we're going to take it to the sew machine. Okay. Okay, so we're going to, again, fold this up, line it up at the bottom and our side. Just going to finger press that real quick and then cut it off. Okay, finger press that down or iron, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to go across the top now. Okay, so I'm going to continue that all the way around, and when my strips are done, I'll be right back. Okay, so our finished block is done. I've sewn all the strips around, and I've also trimmed it up to my 11.5 inches. So I'm going to show you how to sew the blocks together with our sashing. And I'll be right back as soon as I get that. Okay, so we're back with our finished blocks and our sashing strips. Now for the sashing strips, you're going to take I decided to use black, by the way. You can use any color you want for your sashing. You want to take 1-inch strips, that's going to be for the back. And then you want to cut a 2-inch strip, which you're going to fold in half. And you're going to iron that just so that stays folded. And that's going to be for the front. Okay, so let me show you how you attach that to the blocks. Okay, so now we have 4 blocks. And one thing you want to pay attention to is how you orient your blocks. Now, right now, my blocks are all going in one direction. So they all have the same strips going around in the same spots. But you can change your blocks that will actually change the look of your quilt. So say if I wanted all my light colors in the center, I could turn my blocks like this. And now I'll have this like kind of diamond shape of lights in the center and darks on the outside. Or you can do it the reverse. You can do blocks, the darks in the center, like this. And then your lights will be on the outside. So when you have a big quilt, you'll be able to see like it's kind of like a diamond shaped. So it really depends on how you want to do it. So I'm going to actually orient mine with the lights on the inside. Like this. Okay, so let me show you how to attach the sashing strips. Let's take these two out of the way. Now first, we want to take our backing, because as I said earlier, I wanted my backing to not have any stitching on it. And we're going to line that up with our block. Okay. And then the same with this one. Okay. And now we're going to take our strips. Now the 2.5-inch strip folded is going to go on the front. And I cut mine, remember our block was 11.5 inches when we got done putting all our strips on. But I cut mine a little more generous. So this way, if anything shifts as it's going through the machine, I have enough room to cut it off. Okay, and then we're going to, for the back, we're going to put the 1-inch strip. And again, I cut this a little generous. So this way, if anything shifts, I have an extra room. Okay, and then you can pin this down. I like to use clips, so I do that so that it doesn't shift on me and everything stays in place. Okay, and then I want to check it, make sure. Okay, and then we'll go to the sewing machine and sew this. So now I also changed my thread to black to match my sashing. So there is our strips, our sashing strips sewn down. Here's the front and the back. Now the back I want to press down because we're going to attach this block to that sashing strip. So I want to make sure that that's nice and crisp. Okay. Now, we want to take this block that we have our sashing strip attached to, turn it over, and then we're going to take this block and we're going to sew Oh, let's put our backing on again. That fell off. Okay. Make sure you have your orientation right. So this top of this is going to attach to the top of the strip on this side. So right sides together, and you're going to line up the sashing strip that we ironed out with the top of our next block. And you want to make sure that your blocks are even. So you want to pay attention to that. And then you're going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way down. And I'll sew that and be right back. So we have our 2 blocks joined together, and this is what it looks like on the back after we get done sewing that strip. And then this is what the front looks like right now. And if you had your accurate 1/4 inch, these should lay flat right here. So now we're going to take this strip, the top one, fold it over, and you can put some pins to hold this down. I'm going to clip the bottom first. And again, I'm going to cut that overage off at the very end. So I'm going to hold these from moving. And then I'll put a pin, a couple pins somewhere here in the middle, so this doesn't move. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take that to the sewing machine and sew that down. And we're just going to sew like right on the edge, maybe about 1/8 of an inch, all the way down. So we have our 2 blocks joined now. And this is the front, and then this is the back. Okay. And you'll continue to do that with your blocks until you have the amount of rows that you want. And then the way to join your rows would be the same exact way. So you'll cut 1-inch strips, fold it in half for the front, and then a 1 inch for the back for the length of your rows. And then that's it. And then you put your binding on, which I think I showed in the last one, the last video I have, but I'll link that down below. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial on a Quilt As You Go log cabin block. And I hope you make one for yourself. And if you like this video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And remember, happy sewing and sew something happy.